Hello, dear friends. Today we conclude our look at the surprisingly candid memoirs of a Wehrmacht general. Don't forget to rate the video, and let's get started. February 25th, 1945. Report to the family. It seems that the first major battle for the Ostrava coal region is over. We won it. In the east, the enemy covered a third of the distance to the first mines, but never reached them. For the Reich, this means 30,000 tons of coal per day, and the railroad and some factories will continue to operate. So your daddy didn't fight in vain. But it was hard work and an extremely stressful period. We were greatly helped by the fact that the enemy made several wrong decisions. He led the attack on the bridgehead between Raciborz and Koziel in such an uncoordinated manner that his units moved in 3 different directions. As a result, he found himself in a dire situation on the 3rd day. It was very difficult for me to take command of such different units. Among them were militia divisions, or the remnants of defeated units, supplemented by those who had broken out of the encirclement. They were noticeably weaker than my old divisions. There were accidents that should not have happened at all. Counterattacks failed. Battalions fled their positions. With great difficulty and incredible help from those at hand, I gradually managed to transfer all my strong units from the Slovak mountains to Bohemia. But I did one more thing. I kept pestering the people involved in industry until they called in their boss, Minister Speer. He was here yesterday and visited 3 divisions and the Emma mine near Rybnik with me. The result was an order from the Führer, who immediately put 70 tank destroyers at my disposal. That's something. I liked Speer very much. He is a calm, professional, and in essence modest man. You can have a good conversation with him. We spent the whole day together. He accepted all our wishes. In the end, I convinced him so much that he repeated, in my own words, the thoughts I had expressed here regarding the defense of his industry. He will convey this to the Führer, so I have good support for the battle here. I will need it. After all, the Russians are not going to stop their attacks. Once they have replenished their forces from their reserves, the fighting will start again. In Silesia, they tell terrible things about the behavior of the Russians. They took the men from Oppeln to Russia. They drove the old men and women to dig trenches and pave roads. They treat women and girls in a way that words cannot describe. Often they simply kill them. There is not the slightest sense of decency or humanity. A person is a thing that can be treated as one pleases. They are killed with pleasure. Yes, our times have indeed far surpassed the morals of the 30 Years' War. They say that thousands of soldiers are traveling back and forth across Germany, continuously, unchecked, with fake IDs, and are participating in the war. In 1918, it all started just like this. The situation there seems to be monstrous. I don't even want to talk about the major events on the Eastern Front. It's good that I'm so busy that I don't have time to think about the overall situation. Gross Peterwitz near Breslau, where my grandmother spent so many years and was engaged, is already in enemy hands. What is the situation in Königsberg? Whether relatives have remained there or have left. Nothing is known or heard about this. In Pomerania, the Russians have not yet reached Dittersdorf at least. I am glad that Gazella left the area east of the Oder. In this sense, her call up to the labor service was a blessing, because it meant she was evacuated. Otherwise, she would probably have stayed with the Knebel family. And as for how the Russians treat German girls, it's better not to talk about that. In fact, I don't even know where to address my letters to Mom and Gazella now. I can't even express how shocked I am by everything that is happening in Germany. Only God knows what my relatives in Königsberg are going through right now. Just recently, Uncle Otto was talking about his idyllic home life. Today, the streets of Königsberg are ravaged by the fury of war. Did the church in Haberberg, the priest's house, and the Lowen pharmacy survive? Where are Wottrich, Uncle Herbert, and Frau Benisch? And in Alsace, the enemy is approaching the Kaiserstuhl Mountains. Luxembourg, Staufen, Königsberg, and Liebau are no longer in our hands. And where are you, my gazella? I don't know if this letter will reach you. This morning, after a long break, there was a church service again. Two themes formed the basis of the sermon. For I am sure that neither death nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, can separate us from the love of God. My grandfather read this at the memorial service. And another. Rejoice in hope, be patient in suffering, be constant in prayer, which was read at our engagement. Both are very timely. Indeed, the horsemen of the apocalypse are trampling our fatherland. March 5, 1945, report to the family. After I had to deal with various joyless problems on the afternoon of March 3rd, my adjutant brought me the following telegram as I was leaving, saying, "Finally, something joyful. Taking into account your constantly proven heroism, I award you the 136th in the Wehrmacht, oak leaves with swords to the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross. Adolf Hitler." Later, the Chief of Staff of Army Group von Notzmer called and said that he wanted to inform me of the following. The Führer had decided to award me spontaneously during a discussion of the situation at the front because he particularly appreciated the excellent resilience demonstrated by my army. After we arrived in the southeast, we had to withstand one or two heavy blows. The fighting in the Carpathian foothills and at the Dukla Pass was more than fierce. Defending the Carpathian Ridge was no easy task. Both near Uzhhorod and south of the Dukla Pass, everything often hung in the balance. The 3-week battle near Kaschau was won only because the Russians ran out of strength at the very last moment, when they were just about to reap the fruits of victory. I hope the overall outcome of the war will be the same. And here in the industrial area, it cannot be said that we had it easy. I hope that we will successfully repel the upcoming offensive, which should begin soon and will begin. And in the art of command, after everything has been planned, prepared, the troops have been brought into position, and then you take control of the battle. It is impossible to predict the outcome with complete certainty. It depends on many other factors over which you have no control. Historical reference. On March 20th, 1945, Heinrici was appointed commander of Army Group Vistula, which was supposed to stop the Red Army's advance on Berlin at the Oder River. The Soviet attacks, which began on April 16th, were successfully held back for 4 days, the Battle of the Zilo Heights. But then the Red Army managed to break through, resulting in Berlin being surrounded and captured. When Heinrici took the initiative, contrary to the orders of the Wehrmacht High Command to leave Berlin and hold Swinemünde, Keitel relieved Heinrici of his command on April 29, 1945, near Neustrelitz. After that, Heinrici and his staff went to Flensburg to see Grand Admiral Dönitz and found temporary shelter in Niebüll. May 5, 1945, letter to his wife. Your pessimistic husband was right in the end. He foresaw the coming of the end, and that end has come. God's judgment is cruel and terrible, but it has only just begun. Who knows what else will happen? Over the past 3 weeks, I have experienced nightmares of internal turmoil, mental anguish, doubts, and battles. Duty, obedience, conscience, and my own convictions fought within me. There was no way to retreat, no way to escape fate, except through death. But to seek it myself would be a vile sacrilege. And so, when I was tormented by the most terrible pangs of conscience, when demands piled up on demands and meant nothing more than senselessly sacrificing German lives, when a fierce conflict arose with Keitel, who insisted that I obey, I had to submit to him. But at the same time I resigned. I explained to him that I placed the demands of my own conscience above all other obligations. I stepped aside and said that I could no longer go along with him. Finally, I managed to break free from this web of duties and obligations in which I had become entangled. After that, he removed me from my post. I have been without a position for 5 days now, and am fleeing from the enemy. The orderly, Billa, secretly left me, stealing the car and the drivers. Now I have reached the Danish border, and I will go no further. I am waiting here for the English to pick me up, perhaps to hand me over to the Russians later. In the calendar of the local church community for these days, I found some words of comfort, although it was last year's calendar. May the Lord have mercy on me and help me. The burden placed on me is too heavy. These lines cannot describe it, except in the most general terms. But I know that the path I have followed has always been clear and true. I did not hide behind illness or other excuses. When the moment came, I declared openly, I do not do what my conscience does not allow me to do. I do not know what consequences this will have, but I cannot do otherwise. Everything else is irrelevant. Both of my army commanders refused Keitel when he asked them to take my place, so he had no replacement for me. General von Manteuffel maintained this point of view and behaved courageously and honestly, like a noble man. General von Tippelskirch initially resisted, but then changed his position and gave in. He agreed to temporarily take my position, although at first he said he would not do so. This is how character is revealed in difficult times. Dear Trude, if I could describe to you these conflicting but equally important tasks, these obligations, these moral demands, these decisions that were proposed to me and which I had to reject as immoral, useless, or contrary to my oath, it would be a drama of incredible magnitude and power. The Führer, fighting for his life in his bunker, demanding that I free him, which was impossible after he had chained himself there. The orders given by Keitel and Jodl, who still tried to force me to do so, although they themselves understood that this would only mean senseless sacrifices and would become nothing more than self-justification for them after they had chosen a different fate for themselves than the Führer, instead of remaining by his side as loyal paladins. What horror and despair would have befallen Mecklenburg with its aristocratic estates, flourishing villages and manors. And now you are faced with the question of whether for the sake of this land, the last piece of land not yet touched by war, put an end to the madness of this battle on your own, without orders, without permission. Or should you sacrifice this land so that it would be occupied not by the Russian army, but by the British and Americans who were already fighting in our immediate rear and advancing, and thus save it from Siberia? By doing so, as a soldier, I would have violated all my obligations while Hitler was still alive and become a rebel. My decisions would have affected the fate of other army groups whose needs I did not know. Contrary to my awareness of the need to end this insane battle as quickly as possible, Keitel and Jodl demanded that the Führer be freed in Berlin, and in connection with this, they gave orders that mocked the real situation and meant senseless sacrifices. I was told to take these people out of the game, arrest them, or do something else. But then, in the eyes of the German people, I would have become the very person who, being a soldier, betrayed the Führer at the last moment, and about whom they would say, "Without this traitor, things would have turned out differently." So I obeyed. But when the situation got really bad, I told Keitel, "What you are asking of me is no longer compatible with my conscience. I must obey you, but I will not sign such a thing with my name. I cannot go against my conscience. I will not do it. Otherwise, I will lose my self-respect." This response made me the worst enemy of Keitel and Jodl. Keitel dismissed me from my post in a very strange way. They probably thought that I should pay, perhaps with my own life. But I believed they could no longer do anything. However, in the last few days I had to be cautious. On the way here, after Keitel handed me over to the command of a foreign headquarters, Bila constantly tried to keep me from falling into the hands of the British so that he could go home. But since I did not want to become a defector, he left me himself, taking our car, gasoline, rations, and 2 drivers. But because of all these events, I avoided the need to surrender, and thus, after 40 years of service, take a step that for any commander is the worst thing that can happen to him. Fate spared me from this. Tippelskirch had to do it. Now I will fall into the hands of the enemy as a single person. What will happen to me next is in God's hands. On May 28th, Heinrici was captured by the British near Flensburg, from where he was released on May 19th, 1948. After the war, he lived for quite a long time, passing away on December 13th, 1971, at the age of 84. That's all for today. If you like the video, please support it with a like and subscribe to the channel. See you all soon.